All right. Hello, everyone. We are back. This is our technically our fourth week, but it's our third week going over the short stories because the last time we were live, we were discussing the racism in classics on Cachet's channel. So if you haven't watched that, it was definitely a great discussion. So go ahead and check that out after this one. But yeah, we're back reading the short stories. And Cachet, if you would like to introduce yourself, go right ahead.
So the way that I can't figure out how to lower my chair because I feel like I have to scoot back so like half my head isn't a thing. Y'all work with me. Hey everybody, I'm Cachet. My channel is Shay with the Hobbies. I be writing, I be reading, I be creating. If that is something that you are interested in, make your way over, hit that subscribe button and click that notification bell. But remember, all my content is black with a very big B. So, just keep that in mind because you're being warned ahead of time. Like, anti-blackness is not tolerated, and white supremacy is going to be under attack at all times. So just know that going in, so you don't be like, I didn't realize you were like. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. If you watched, you did.
He said, I told you up front. You weren't listening.
I did. Very. Everybody know me. I'm very, very like, nah, And the truth of the matter is, y'all know my face tell on me more than anything else, so you'll know. You'll know for real.
Same.
Also,
Okay.
I apologize in advance because I'm like fighting a like sinus head thingy, so I'm like sniffling and everything. So I'll probably didn't nobody tell you to talk right now. So I'll probably be like in and out, like turning my mic off and turning my camera off, so y'all don't have to see me like sneezing all over everything. But, hey y'all, thank y'all for being here.
Yeah, honestly, like over the weekend, like my allergies were getting to me too. Like our air quality is just so bad. Like honestly, we just need like a really great storm just to get it out of like just clean out the atmosphere.
But no, it's definitely been looking like it's gonna rain for like 5 days and hasn't. But it rained for like a week straight, so like I get it. But at the same time, it's like my allergies are not this bad when it was raining.
Right?
It was
Like
getting
we need some of
clear
that.
and right.
We need some of that rain for
This
sure.
today I like text like 5 times. This is why fall is the best season. This is why fall is the best season. Like this stuff right here. Like winter, spring, summer. No, fall. You don't have allergies. The weather is nice. You can be warm and cool, but not cold or hot. Like it's just the colors.
It's perfect.
Is perfect.
Yeah. Hello, Pat. How are you?
It's so good to see you.
Okay, so this week we read The Devil in the Belfry, The Man That Was Used Up, The Fall of the House of Usher, William Wilson, The Conversation of Eiros and Charmion, Some Account of Stonehenge, The Giant's Dance, Why the Little Frenchman Wears His Hand in a Sling, Instinct versus Reason, A Black Cat, and The Businessman. So those are all of the short stories that we read. And Cachet and I were talking a little bit about this before we went live. A lot of these things are kind of like almost like essays where they're talking about kind of like real places like Stonehenge, or like kind of instinct versus reason, kind of like discussing that like animalistic instinct versus our very human way to reason through things. And definitely more of like a educational, pieces that were in there. Again, seeing a different side of Edgar Allan Poe that I wasn't really expecting, right? So yeah, that's what we were kind of going over a little bit before we went live, but I completely agree. Like a lot of these like were more like essay pieces that you probably would like. Honestly, I expected some of this I would see like in a class or something, like a college course where they're
Yeah,
discussing
no,
like
it definitely
scientific stuff.
seemed like more like he would think about a topic and just like write his thoughts out about the topic. Like it
Right.
definitely seemed more like of like a stream of consciousness. Let me talk about this thing, especially like the instinct versus reason. Like I was like,
Uh-huh.
where is this going?
Yeah.
Like there's no black cat yet. What are we talking about? And like we get to the black cat at like the end, and I was like,
At the very end. Yeah.
I mean, I guess like that was
Yeah.
an interesting story for you to choose for instinct versus reason. Like, I don't know, especially because like I was thinking when I think of instinct versus reason, I think of dogs more than cats. just
Oh, yeah.
like the ways in which they react to things that are instinct, and then the ways in which they do things that aren't. Like, so like Titan is a boy dog, right? I don't have a boy dog. Titan is around boy dogs. The way that Titan pees differently than Cleo,
Mm-hmm.
like, and it's an instinct thing. Like, it's nobody taught him how to do that. Nobody said this is what you're supposed to do. So, and then you think about Reason, and then like I've watched Titan, like me tell Titan to get off the rug, and him like get off and then put his paw on it and then look at me and turn his head. Like, there are like moments that it's like that's a reason. Like, you thought about what you did and you did it. Like,
Uh-huh.
so yeah, so no, I definitely agree with you. It's been interesting. Hey, one of my Twitch friends. It's so good to see you, Queen. Thank you for being here. She's
Hello,
streaming it. She
hello.
was like, "Oh, you're about to go live. Like, send me the link so I can support." So I appreciate that.
Thank
Right? We love
you.
supporting people.
That's so nice. Thank you. I hope your stream is going well.
Yeah, I'm looking. She's playing basketball right now.
All right.
Right.
But okay, yeah. So the one we do have questions. Let me get them up here. I have 2 questions. Okay. So what was your favorite poem from this week? If you read the poems, if you haven't read the poems and you're watching, you can discuss any poem or short story that Edgar Allan Poe has that you've read. Go for it. Did you want me to answer this one, Cache?
Yeah, you can,
Okay.
because I'm gonna say you already know what I'm gonna say. So,
Yeah.
yeah, you can. You go ahead and give an actual answer first.
Right, right. Okay, the what I have like two was really like sticking into my brain, and that is The Fall of the House of Usher. I'd never read it before, so I was really, excited to read it because out of all of the short stories that we've read so far, this is the one that I knew about. Like, I have heard that, title before. I hadn't read it, but I knew it. So I was excited to get to something that I had seen before. But okay, The Fall of the House of Usher was really, really good. And then I also really liked Wilson. I liked those 2, um, more because those both had, like, a paranormal aspect to it, I thought. It doesn't, like, outright say that there are paranormal or, things going on like that. That's what I got when I was reading it. So The Fall of the House of Usher is about, our narrator is friends with a man, his name is Roderick Usher, and Roderick and his twin are both sick. They have some sort of illness. And Roderick invites the narrator over to their house to help lift their spirits, hoping to make them feel better. Roderick is very sensitive to light, sounds. He has very sudden changes of mood and demeanor. And he's talking to the narrator, Roderick, and he's saying that his twin sister, she's so sick, she's going to die at any given point. And so when I think of something like, especially in the horror aspect, I have my mind in the horror frame. Sensitivity to light and sound and sudden like changes of mood. I am immediately thinking vampire. Like, that is just me. I'm immediately thinking vampire.
When you were describing, I was like, okay, vampire. Like, you describing that, like, that's what it was like. Okay, you can't go out, you move really fast, you like the dark, you don't want to be outside. And sounds very vampiric to me.
Exactly. So I'm like, okay, great, vampire, awesome. I love vampires. So as the story progresses, Roderick's twin dies, and they take her to the family vault. And I don't know how many days go by, but Roderick is explaining, and he's hearing his twin like moaning and wanting to get out and like rattling chains. I'm like, first of all, if she's died and in a vault, why is she in chains? Second of all, so I'm just like, what if Roderick was the vampire and he was feeding off of his twin and turned her into a vampire because she explodes out of this vault and comes and attacks Roderick? So I'm just like, yeah, he's turned her into a vampire, and she's attacking Roderick. The narrator leaves. He runs. He's like, I'm out of here. And as he turns to look back at the house, the entire house collapses into the body of water that it's sitting on. And so what I like about it is like the fall of the House of Usher, the two main characters, the twins, they're the last of the Usher line. And then also, so they both die at the end. So that is the fall of the House of Usher. But then also the entire Usher house, like the actual house that they live in, also falls into like this body of water. So I just thought that was pretty cool. And I love, like I said, I immediately think vampire. I love anything vampire. So I'm like, yes, this is like the one that's resonating with me so much.
No, like that
I really
sounds
like it.
really good. And actually, like, so I told Nicole already, like, I was having, she knows, May has been a shit show. And so, like, I was reading today, in between trying to sleep and breathe, and so I didn't get through all of them. Your girl was like reading Smarter Not Harder, so she looked for which ones were the shorter ones and then more likely to get through, and was like, oh, like the second half of the groups are all really short. I can do that. So it sounds like super duper interesting. And so, like, for me, it was the Fall of the House of Usher and the Devil in the Belfry that sounded familiar, that I heard the titles before, and so I really do want to go back and read those. And like I was telling Nicole beforehand, so this week for the ones I read, none of them felt like stories. They all felt like essays. And so I didn't necessarily enjoy them or have a favorite. I just thought that they were interesting. And I was curious about like naming conventions and reasonings behind what is titled what and like what is considered what genre or what category of writing, especially because, like, this is so far but like behind us, right? Like, it's so far in the past. And so I was curious to, like, so were essays not really seen as a thing at this time, and that's why this was a short story? And then why were these things, because a lot of them, like I said, they're really short, what made these feel like they needed to be a part of it was my also thought, right? Like because to me, part of it, like, as a writer, it does read like, again, like a stream of consciousness about a title. And me personally, I would feel a way if, like, things that I was just writing out about my thoughts and things, somebody gathered those and put those in a book, because it's not, that's not what I made them for. Like, yes, I wrote them and they are out there, but they weren't meant to be consumed in this way. They were meant for me to figure out my thoughts, or organize my thoughts, or just get thoughts out of my head type deal. So that's really what, like, this week kind of made me think about and whatnot. So
yeah, I did read that, because I research things. I did read that for the instinct versus reason, a black cat, Edgar Allan Poe literally was just watching his cat do something, and then he just thought of things, and that was written down, and that is instinct versus reason, a black cat. Like, he was literally just watching his cat do something, and it just made him think. And so it's literally just his stream of consciousness written down on a piece of paper because he watched his cat do something. So I'm just like, that's interesting. And what if, like, and like you were saying, I never even thought about that, but what if, like, he never meant for this to be published, just because he died and every little piece of writing, someone just decided to put it out there? It's like,
I will say that that's the other thing this has been making me really, really think about. This, along with, like, I've recently been having conversations with people about, like, what's his name? What's up, boy? The man who paints that passed away.
Bob Ross.
Bob Ross, and just like how so many things that you do and are good at once you passed away, like, your thoughts and reasons and stuff behind them don't really come into consideration if you don't explicitly state those things. And that's a thing that's insane to me. And I know we talked about this, like, amongst us as booktube people, but, like, remember there's a book that that Octavia E. Butler, like, didn't want people to read, and, like, it's a hard book to find, and, right, like, it's not one you can really get because she didn't like it. And so, like, I want to read all of her things, and I remember, like, I found out about it, and I was like, ooh, the writer in me can't disrespect her like that and read this. Like, I get it, I get wanting to consume it, but as a writer, like, that's a disrespectful thing to me.
Right.
because you don't know why, right? Like you don't know what that piece meant or what that piece did, or what, especially knowing in the time in which she was writing, right? Like she had to put white people on her cover to sell her book. So like to know that there could have been any number of very hateful personal things that she was dealing with for her to not want this book out. I feel like as someone who wants to support and, you know, look up to her and talk about her as a great Black writer, like I have to respect that. And so like one, you think about that like as a Black person, but then even seeing Edgar Allan Poe and just realizing like there comes a state in time where we decide that everything you write is free and you don't have any type of access over it, and I can print it however many times I want, and there's nothing that you can do about it because that's where his work is now.
Right.
And it's like, how is that even a thing?
How do, like, just because this person died and it was so many years ago, and it's in the public domain now. It doesn't really belong to him anymore, even though it's like it's some of this work is his deepest, darkest inner feelings, you know? And so it's like very personal. And what if he didn't want some of these things in the light of day or to be kept, you know, because he was at a dark period in his life, you know? It's just like, what if he he wrote something where it's just like, I never really wanted this to be read by anybody, but it was just, I was at a time where I could not think of anything else until I got it down on paper. And I don't want anyone to think that I was actually like this, but I just had to get it out because it was
right. No, and that's how my paranoid ass feels about journaling, like physically journaling and shit. Like, because people love that shit. Like, people love to sell that shit. People love to buy that. I was like, I'm cussing, but I was like, you don't care about cussing. No, but at the same time, like, it's like people like that stuff. They want to consume that. Things like the things I write in my journal, in my diary, those are personal as fuck. Nobody is supposed to read those except maybe the person I spend the rest of my life with, and that's a big ass maybe. So like, I can't imagine a bunch of freaking strangers. And to say that, like, oh, like, people are gonna judge you. Like, that's what you're gonna do. Like, you're like, dang, she was doing all this. Dang, she felt like this. Like, I mean, yeah, but that was my personal feelings. It's not, you know what I mean? And so that's like all of reading him and everything, like everything that we've been doing for like the last 2 months, actually now, like, 2 months now. It's been making me really, really think about my career and what I want as a writer. Because like I feel like because people see him as a classic, you feel that you don't, like, you can do this with his work. And while, like, I mean, it's definitely like a high end goal to be considered a great one day as a writer, I don't want you to do this to me. I don't care how great you think my words are. Like, I want there to be some distance. I want there to be some things that are just for me, that are just mine. And I think that it's interesting that as a writer, it seems like you really don't have that once you get to a certain level, right? Like when you're an athlete, the games that you play while you're working are the games that matter, right? Like you can go play a pickup game and it's not a big deal and it's not a thing. Like everybody's not sitting around watching that, right? But this is 1,000-something pages.
I know. Yeah.
And we know there's at least 2 editions.
Yeah.
There's at least 2 editions that y'all have created making money off of this man.
Yeah. It's almost like you have to, like, in your last will and testament, you have to be like,
and be super freaking explicit, like put time limits and stuff. Like you can't, like, oh, well, maybe contract law says this is only valid for like 50 years. It's after 50 years. Can we do it now? Like, I feel like because companies do that all the time.
Find
like,
loopholes, sure.
They find something that's making them money, especially if that person isn't there anymore.
To say yay or nay.
To say yay or nay. Again, we live in a very capitalistic society.
Yep.
Like, and like the mention of Bob Ross, like his family doesn't make money from the stuff that they do.
That's so,
like, that's insane to me.
Insane.
And the truth of the matter is like in so many of these cases, like even with Edgar Allan Poe, like it just takes one person in your family to not know what they're doing. It just takes one person to sign something over to the wrong person, or one more person to agree to something, or think, oh wow, this would be good. My mom would love her stuff out there. Like this would be great, and then you're like,
you no longer own it, so your
right,
descendants can no longer,
right,
make the money that's owed. Like you're making money off this person's name and their work, but it's not going to the family. Who's it going to?
right, right. The motherfuckers is already rich. Why?
I know. Oh my god. Yeah, you'd have to be really like you said, explicit in your last will and testament. Like if like whatever is out is out. If you republish, proceeds or any money that's
Right.
being made goes to my family. I don't care how hard
Definitely
you have to
solidify
hunt for them.
why I want to be self-published, like for real. Because like the truth of the matter is, when you sell a book in Trad Pub, you don't have any, like there's nothing
You don't
can
own
say
it.
about that book.
You don't own it anymore. You don't. You sign over your rights, and hopefully maybe in your contract you'll get the rights back in like 10 years or something, but like they own it for as long as the contract is good for, so it's like
right. And most people, it's like the lifetime of the book. Like there are a lot of lifetime contracts. Like some people don't ever get their rights back to books, and that's like, man,
wow, that's
right. Mm-hmm. That's crazy to think about. So yeah. Sorry, I know this kind of what your favorite thing is, but it was like, this is what it made me think about while I was reading.
I love it. And then, so my second favorite, William Wilson, it really kind of reminded me of like Fight Club. So like,
did you say Fight Club?
Fight Club, yeah. Just like not like this person's actually in a fight club and you don't talk about Fight Club, but the fact that there's like a doppelganger of yourself that you think is a complete real person, but in reality it's not. So like I just thought that was so cool. Another kind of supernatural maybe-esque moment or writing of his. And basically William Wilson, the narrator, is using this name to hide his real identity. So he's just going by William Wilson. Like, let's just call me William Wilson. And so he is talking about his life on his deathbed and just remembering things, events from going to school as a child to him growing up. And he is recalling a time when he was in school and he met another student who had the same name as him, first and last name, same birthday. He was the same height. And so he was kind of like, okay, like, there's someone that looks like exactly like me, same name, everything. And so it was kind of like uncanny, almost unreal, right? And as the narrator gets to know this other person, they become rivals, like they're like bitter enemies kind of thing, and he leaves the school, he goes on about his life, and throughout his life, in certain points in time, this other person meets back up with him and encounters him again and again and again and again. And it gets to a point where William Wilson just gets so sick of it, and he gets drunk one night and he stabs his doppelganger or his double. And as soon as he stabs him, he kind of fades away and there's a mirror in front of him and he's actually stabbed himself. So it's kind of like, this person wasn't real. It was all in your head and you just killed yourself. Like, so crazy, and definitely reminded me of Fight Club. So
okay, so question: did I let you read like the first version of Karma Always Comes Back?
I don't know. I don't think you did. No.
Okay, so the funny part is the original Karma Always Comes Back is exponentially shorter than the one that's in the story. And so in the story, there's a moment where Amelia is in the bathroom and she's looking in the mirror. Mm-hmm. And originally in the first version, that's where like the twist comes out, is like you see right in that. And so I think it's funny that I never read this story, right? Like I never did that. And I think it's so dope that that was a thing that he did as well, like the mirror and the like explanation, and that was how you ended the story. Like, I'm not saying I'm gonna be a great one day, but your girl feels very, very proud right now. Very, very like,
that is so cool.
That is like, yo, I'll have to send you like the first version. I know I have it saved somewhere, but like, yeah, when I read it, when you said that, I was like, yo, that's kind of dope.
That's really cool.
I like that.
Oh, that's
So I
awesome.
guess like if you haven't read Karma's Always Comes Back, then I guess you kind of get the twist a little bit. But I promise you, it's still a really great story to read because
Yeah,
it's
I
funny as hell.
but oh yeah, so you should totally get it, and I will put a link in the description box so you can read Cachet's story. And because she's a legit published author. She's
Oh yeah, we could put
she's
the
the
link
real
for
one.
the like where I read it on live, and then they can watch it and they
Yes.
can go listen to it. Yeah.
Yes, I'm gonna do that. I'll do both. So if you want to buy the copy, you can, and then you can listen to Cachet's beautiful voice read the story. An author reading her own work, like that. Don't we love that as readers as well?
We
Like if
really do, like
authors
for real, for real. It's why Elizabeth
narrate their own
Acevedo
audiobook.
is my favorite. Is really why she's my favorite because like, and I like the truth of the matter is like I don't think other people could deliver it the way that she does because it's her and
Yeah.
because like poetry is her thing and everything like that. Like it's also one of the things that again back to self publishing. I wouldn't want you to tell me that no, we're gonna go with somebody else. Like you can audition and if we don't like you, we'll just pick somebody else. Like nah, I
This is
want to do it.
my
Because the
this is
other part
my
of that is I'm trying to keep all my coins. Trying to keep all my coins. So if I'm
exactly.
the narrator, then like, come on now.
Ching.
That's all I'm saying. Right.
I was
Right.
actually thinking about that today too, and I was just like, because I was just thinking of like when I publish of all the editions, like because publishing like audiobooks is expensive because you have to hire the narrator, you got to pay them, and it's just like, what if I just narrated it myself? So yeah, that's awesome. That's amazing. You're muted.
My bad. I'll send you this link, but there is a content creator that I follow, and she wanted to get into like audiobooking and voice narration, and so
Hmm.
she did a little small like ad for like a company that like you can buy at home sound booths,
Oh,
and
cool.
so like, and they're not super expensive. Like I want to say less than $200, like less than
Wow,
that. Right, right,
that's actually amazing
right. That's they're not
because I
like
would
super expensive because I was like, look, I was like, yo, this really it like, and it would be an investment, like
right.
like an investment for real, for real. So yeah, so I'll send you the link to that because I have it saved in my Instagram stuff. But yeah, no, I was
Yeah,
like, yo, this is something I would really like to do because the truth is like I'm like the things that you have to worry about when it comes to audiobook is the quality.
right.
Like that's the quality and how you speak, right? Like that's what that is.
Hmm.
And it's also part of what I like. The way I realized that even in Trad Pub, you can have your book come out and not have an audio book. Like that's the number one reason why I would want to be Trad Pub is to make sure that my book can get out in every
Every format.
facet it can be. And so to think that like I would be Trad Pub and could not have an audio book, that drastically limits who can get my book.
Absolutely. Yep.
And as someone who does not have a reading disability, someone who does not have a learning disability or an attention disability, I use audiobooks more than anything else.
Hmm.
So
Yep.
like not even being like not only are we talking about the ableism of not having it, but like you just don't know how many people will consume your work in this way, regardless of disability or not.
Right. Exactly. Yep. Mhm.
So yeah, I realized because of that, it means that my books are gonna take longer to come out because I refuse to put a book out without an audio book. Like I don't want to do that.
Right.
Um, but it also means that like I'm taking care of my readers, and I feel like a good author does that. Like they
Right.
care about who their product is for. It's not just
Absolutely.
about the money, and I think that's the difference between like authors and publishing houses. Like it's not
Absolutely.
about the money; it's about the story and the
Mhm.
audience.
Absolutely. Yep. But that's amazing. Less than $200. That kind of changes the game a little bit because I was actually thinking of just like if I would narrate the book myself, like you'd have to soundproof some room that you're in, because any kind of echo, uh, puppies I love you, but dogs barking, their little nails on the hardwood floor, click clack click clack, it's just like all that is like that also takes time. You have to go back and reread or what you just did and edit that out. And so it's just like to make it as easy as possible. And like that's also like kind of super affordable. It's like after like everything else that I'm paying for, especially like editing services, less than $200 is like a steal. But yeah, that's awesome. So yeah, like definitely send that to me because that's actually really amazing and a game changer for sure. Um, but yes, okay, so next question. Um, what poem slash short story did you find the most difficult, or what about Poe's writing do you find the most difficult? Um, Again, I can go first. We did say that, you know, a lot of a couple of his short stories this week were kind of like essay formats. He's just kind of like talking about something he's thinking about. And but honestly, like none of those really kind of got me. Um, One that was kind of like most difficult for me was why the little Frenchman wears his hand in a sling. Um, and just because of the way that it was written, it's kind of written out in like our the main character or the narrator has like an Irish brogue. So it's kind of like written like with his accent and how they write words and things like that. So it's kind of like it's hard to consume that way. And then I didn't really get it. I don't like even after reading that short story, I don't know why the little Frenchman wears his hand in a sling. I don't know. So I'm still like it's just I'm not sure. Um so in this story we have our narrator, his name is Patrick, and he moves next to this married couple, and the wife is beautiful, gorgeous, most beautiful woman he's ever seen, and he wonders why she's married to this short, seemingly ugly Frenchman. And so one day he goes over there, I think it's for dinner or something, or just a visit. And so the wife is sitting in the middle, and the Frenchman, and then the our narrator is sitting on either side. And so he like puts his arm like behind her back and like holds her hand, but then she gets up and leaves the room to do something, and he's still holding a hand. But I'm just like, I was like, okay, like, is it a fake hand? Is it a severed hand? Like, is that why the French man, like, wears his hand in a sling? Is because he don't have a hand? She cut it off? I wasn't sure. So I was like, I was very confused about what was going on in this short story. So even after reading the short story of why the little French man wears his hand in a sling, I don't know why he wears his hand in a sling. I wasn't sure. So but yeah, that was mine. That was the most difficult for me.
Okay, so as far as most difficult, out of the ones I read, I don't think any were difficult. I just honestly was not like interested.
Right.
Like it was like, oh, okay, this is a thing that I read.
Mhm.
And again, like I didn't read all of them, so it's not necessarily that would have been like how all of them were. But it was like a, huh. This is the first time in the 2 months that we've been doing this that I was like, I wasn't just completely enthralled or fascinated by the at least one story in there, or at least one thing that I consumed. And so it was more so, again, like tonight is going to be all the things that what I read and did make me think. It just made me realize, like, why did I think that was how it was supposed to be every story? Like we've already read 18, and I found, 5 or 6 out of that 18 that I really, really loved and really thought were
Mhm.
amazing. So
Mhm.
why, when I read the 5 that I read or whatever, why did I feel a sense of disappointment in that? Just more so like why did I put this impossible task of everything you write being phenomenal to me on this author?
Right,
Like,
right.
as another writer, right?
Yeah,
Like, what made me do this? And so it definitely made me reflect on the fact that even being a classics, even being a great writer, even being, the person that we kind of like the rule stick, the yardstick we put up against, like, some things are just not going to be great to everybody. right? Like some things are just, it is really up to the moment in time which people are reading them, how they're feeling at the time they're reading, how it resonates with them. And those are all things that you as the author, as the writer, can't control.
Right. Yeah.
Which again to me made me go back to wondering if he even cared for anyone to read this. Because again, like it's not told in his normal fascinating, enthralling story way. It really is giving you like, no, these are just my thoughts. And why did I feel not necessarily completely negatively, but why didn't I feel just as positive when he wasn't entertaining me? Like it just gave me like all these different thoughts, right? Like, do I think less of you because I don't find you as entertaining now? Did that take away from how much you entertained me the past 3-4 weeks? So again, as we're going through reading these stories, I'm just really glad for the experience that it's giving me, for the conversations it's making me have with you as another writer, with other readers, and the conversations making me have and with myself and the things it's making me reflect on. Yeah. And again, didn't expect none of this when we started. Didn't expect to ever like be like, dang, let me think about how I'm writing. Let me think about how I'm maneuvering. Like none of that, this, right? So
yeah, that's so true. I think we say it like every single live stream that it's just like, I'm so glad that I'm doing this with you. Like, it's like, I never really thought that I could get this much from reading, Edgar Allan Poe.
For real. Yeah, completely agree. Like I expected to have a good time because, we're doing this together and we have a really great friendship. So I expected that. But like, outside of that, you're so sweet. Outside of that, like I didn't really expect I didn't expect to be as impressed as I am. Because the truth is, like, definitely loved the short stories that I knew by him and I had read, but definitely much more impressed with the versatility. Definitely much more impressed with the ability to tell a story in a poem with less than 5 stanzas. Like there's just so much that I was impressed by and have been impressed with. And again, goes back to what we said in Racism and Classics, like not discounting the work that anyone did, not discounting how amazing or anything that they are, right? But still understanding like there's a reason they're classics. Yeah. There's a reason, right?
For sure. Yeah. Absolutely. Just also for kind of like jumping off of this question into a poem or short story that I didn't like at all. I know like we never had that question before, but it just kind of made me think of it because there's one in particular of this week that I read and it did not sit well with me.
Okay.
It didn't like it just honestly like I wish we would have read this one and then had our discussion like for the Racism in Classics. Like I had wish I knew this like poem existed or the short story existed before we did the Racism in Classics so I could talk about it. But it's actually it's the second short story of our list this week. It's The Man That Was Used Up. And trigger warnings for the use of the word Indian. I know a lot of Native American or Indigenous people don't like that term now, so just trigger warnings for that. It is used, and it's also during a time where they had the Indigenous like removal campaign in the 1830s in the Americas. So just trigger warnings for that before going in, like if you do decide to read it. So this book or the short story is about a war general who was taken apart by Indigenous people, taken apart as in like cut up, like he had like limbs and stuff removed. And then he was put back together by his black servant named Pompey. And this is the second story in which we see
so Pompey is back.
I don't know if Pompey is back or it's like it's a different character, or honestly, it made me think that maybe Edgar Allan Poe owned an enslaved person that was named Pompey, because really, all of the stuff you've written, you couldn't think of another name for a person.
Right. Like, like, is it set in the same place? What is going on? Why was that the name? I don't know why. I don't know a black person named Pompey. I can't imagine a black person named Pompey, but that's just me.
Right. Exactly. So I'm just like, I don't know if this is the same character or this is connected to How to Write a Blackwood article. When I was researching, I did not see any correlation between the two stories. No one noticed it. But I'm just like, how can we have two different short stories with a character that aren't related, that aren't seemingly related, but have the same character as a black enslaved person named Pompey? Like, of all the stuff that you dream up, Edgar Allan Poe, you couldn't think of another name for this person. So I'm just like, that kind of made me think a little bit. But yeah, it was just very, it did rub me the wrong way. Not only regarding to Pompeii, but also of how indigenous people were portrayed in this short story as well. So
I totally get that, because the truth of the matter is we have, as a country, right? Like, not me as an individual, because fuck it, but we as a country, we have this really interesting way of highlighting how everyone does things to us or around us, like we don't do it. Like, right, like when we talk about like Native Americans dismembering and putting, pikes on heads on pikes and things, like that's what we're told, but we're not told that it was done to them first and it was a retaliation. We're not told that their families and children were slaughtered first and this was legitimately an act of war and retaliation. We're not taught that. So like I totally get that. And I think, again, like I said then, like I can say someone is a great writer and has great stories and still acknowledge that they were a fucking piece of shit. Mm-hmm. Like, truly, right? Like, because the truth of the matter is, back to this story, you didn't feel the need to give this black enslaved person agency because you didn't see black enslaved people as humans at this time. And like, that's the point blank, like, end of it. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, when we talk about, when people are like, CRT or the 1619 Project or blah, blah, blah. Like, the truth of the matter is, we are a country that was founded on the principle that black people were not even humans. Mm-hmm. Like, that's the start. That's the start. So, like, it's racism from the start. And so anything that is put in while racism is at the start and at the head is going to be racist. Like, that's just what we have to accept. And I feel like the way in which us going through and reading this entire collection is the only way we would have ever come to this is insane to me.
Yeah.
Because it's truly an example of whitewashing. Like, you only want to highlight the great parts of this person. And to me, honestly, like, great or no great, I not that I love Edgar Allan Poe or anything like that, but I can acknowledge that this was a very fucking human motherfucker. Like, completely. Like, this man was not somebody I would have hung out with, like, ever. Mm-hmm. He's not somebody I would have had a friendship with or relationship with. And I can still admit that the works that he's created, there are so many of them that are great. Mm-hmm. And there are some that are just like, you could have done better, bro.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
You could have done better.
And the fact that when we were having our discussion of racism in classics, I even, I Google searched very specifically, like racism in Edgar Allan Poe's work, racism in this. And, it's just the fact that this one wasn't even brought up, like, How to Write a Blackwood article. You're muted still.
Even in the article, it wasn't brought up because we read it. Like, it would talk about this. But it's, again, these lesser known stories, these lesser known things.
The fact that, like, the article that we read only said, like, oh, the only thing that we can see, like, racism in Edgar Allan Poe's work is How to Write a Blackwood article. And I'm just like, no, like, we've read 3 so far.
And that was somebody's thesis. That wasn't even like a class. Like, that was someone writing about this. So that's the other part of it, is that, like, you don't even have people willing to have the conversation to look into and do those things if they're not probably already black and in English, getting their master's, doctorate, or whatever, trying to, like, talk about these things. So no, totally right there with you. 110%.
So that's why I was just like, when I read this one, it was kind of like, whoa, I thought, like, we had read the racist ones already, but I was like, why was this not?
Because we totally did plan it so that the racism conversation was after How to Write a Blackwood article. So,
because that was the only one that was that was in the forefront, like, oh, the only sign of racism we see with Edgar Allan Poe is How to Write a Black Woman. I was like, no,
Right.
we've read
No,
3 so far.
because like that's at least 3. Because the
Yeah,
other part is the omission of Black people is
yeah,
racist. Like
yeah.
that's the other part of it, right? Because the
Mhm.
truth of the matter is, I have never written a story where there's no white person ever, because it's not life.
Right. Mhm.
Even growing up around nothing but Black people, I still saw white people. They
Mhm.
still existed.
Right.
It's weird.
It's
It's
very, very strange.
weird.
Yeah.
Right.
So that was kind of like just a little extra question for I just thought of it in my head, just
Doesn't
like
mean you
most
just didn't like
difficult,
it.
and I just didn't like that one. It just did
No,
not.
I definitely didn't like How to Write a Blackwood article. I was like, I don't even really understand the point of this story.
Right.
Like this, like I didn't like the main character. She was getting my nerves. I was just like,
Yes.
like
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know. I don't know. It was yeah. And to be very truthful, to have read everything that we've read so far, both of them sound beneath him as a writer, like with the characters. Like they
Yeah.
sound like, I expect better from you because I know that you can do better. Like
Exactly.
the way
Mhm.
in which Pompey was used in How to Write a Blackwood article, the like animalization of his description and all those things, like you're definitely better than that because I have read things by you up until this point that are so much better than that.
Right.
And it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know, right? But at the time, right? Like nobody's calling you out for that in the 1800s, early
No,
1900s.
absolutely not.
Nobody's calling you out for that at all. Nobody's thinking about that at all.
Right. Yep.
So another reason why Agatha Christie don't get a pass, because it's even after that. Like another reason why you just don't get a pass.
You
Like
just don't. Yeah, absolutely. Mhm. Yeah. So yeah, that it's honestly my last question. But I did, after like researching some more of the short stories, there
mhm.
was one that was very interesting. It's not any of the essay ones, but the I just learned a lot that was happening around the time that Edgar Allan Poe wrote this specific short story. And let me find it just so. Um, okay, so it's actually the conversation of Eiros and Charmion. I think that's how you say it. I don't know.
That
But
one was an interesting story. So yeah, I'm interested to hear that because like
okay.
that was when I was like, it sounds like someone died. Like someone was
Uh-huh.
already in the afterlife. A new person had died, and he was like walking him through like this is what life is gonna be like. But oh, could you tell me what it's like on the day I died? Because I really want to know because I wasn't able to experience it. That's what I thought was going on in the story.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. So it is like a post-apocalyptic science fiction, which is so cool. Again, when I think of
Because at
Edgar
the
Allan
time, were
Poe,
we talking about this? At the time, who was writing post-apocalyptic anything?
right? So like, and I honestly like didn't really, when I, again, preconceived notions coming in, when I think of Edgar Allan Poe, I just think of gothic horror. I'm not really thinking like science fiction. But Cache, you did say in a previous live stream that like science fiction is like, kind of the like a tree, a branch off of
Right, horror is a branch of science fiction. Yeah, yeah.
right. Yeah. So I'm just like, that just makes more sense now. But so yeah. So when writing this one, The Conversations of Eros and Charmion, this Edgar Allan Poe was writing it in 1839. And so it says Poe was influenced by a number of different things. One being William Miller's prediction. He predicted in 1831 that the world would end in 1843. So he was like, that's just something that was going on in the history of the time, around the time Edgar Allan Poe was like writing this. So maybe like that influenced a little, like, okay, the end of days is coming. How is it going to come about? Also, a number of different comets were passing by in this time period. Halley's comet was in 1835. So Halley's comet passed by in 1835. Um I can't say a bunch of these, but Iniki's comet in 1838 and Belia's comet in 1832. So all of these comets supposedly passing, not supposedly, it did happen, but passing by Earth caused what they call comet panic, because they believed that, comets, seeing that in the sky was a sign of the apocalypse, a sign of the end of days, because not really a lot of people understood in science aspect, right? And so also in 1832 with Belia's comet, that was when a miscalculation from suggested that comet was going to hit Earth. So there was because some scientists miscalculated the trajectory of this comet, they thought it was going to hit Earth and cause this panic of oh, the world's going to end kind of thing. So that's really cool. But also to kind of calm down that panic, French astronomers tried to allay fears by saying that the comet, Belia's comet, had no mass, that it was just a vaporous comet. And so they tried to kind of spread that word out, that the comet wasn't going, even if it did hit Earth, it's literally just vapor, it won't hurt anybody. So it's and that's kind of funny, because that's exactly what happened in this story. A vaporous comet hits, destroying and depleting all the nitrogen in our atmosphere, leaving only oxygen that's highly flammable, and it just bursts into flames. So that's the apocalyptic point of this story. And that is what the narrator, it's one of them died then at that point in time, and then someone who the narrator, who was also the other person, died 10 years previously. So it's you're absolutely right. These characters are both dead. So they're just kind of telling the story of what happened. And I just thought that was super interesting, about all of these comets are just flying by Earth, and everyone's
right. And so it's very interesting, because again, I think, I talk about this all the time, the arrogance of humanity that we have, right? So to think about comets falling to the Earth and there being conversations about them and predictions about them is not a new thing. It's a very old thing. You don't think about that. I don't think about in the middle of the 1800s, they're thinking about falling comets, but it's true. That's what was going on, right? That's what was happening. And so to think about, for me, the story now, I'm so when did the second person die?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How far? And it has to be some time, because the first person already knows the afterworld and is telling you no, you'll get a new name and this will be the thing and you'll have these things that you'll have to do. And so I'm what happened? Mm-hmm. So now the writer in me wants to write about that in between time, between where the first person died and the comet hit and started the apocalypse, and then that second person died, because I'm just it's some juicy things that had to happen in between there. Had to happen. Yeah. Had to happen. And then also, can I just say, I was the way that I would really be wanting to cuss you out, that I just died and all you want to talk about is how you died and how it affected everybody around you. Were people crying? Did they really miss me? Did it have the effect that I thought that it was going to have? Motherfucker, I'm dead. I need to process the fact that I'm no longer alive. Because in the beginning, that's really you get a new name, I get a new name. What does that mean? He really is trying to process it, and it's oh, by the way, what happened when I died? How was everybody feeling? Was they cool? Was they did my baby mama cry? What about my side chick? Did she try to jump in it? It was really given I just they had to care about me. And the way that the detail went and everything, for a while, I was what is going on here? But we've talked about this already. There is such a big biblical Christian presence in his stories. Now, what it did in his actual life, I really don't know, because again, your little 13, 12, 14-year-old cousin, I don't know. I feel that wasn't, I don't know. I just feel I just got so many questions, is the truth.
So many questions, for sure.
Right. So did you actually believe the Bible, or was it an interesting book of stories that you like to play off of? I'm really curious, because it like the conversation, like and that was the other thing. I was like, are they in the afterlife? Are they like angels? Because he's talking like they get like assignments, like there's things that they
Yeah.
have to do. And so
Mhm.
I'm like, what is this? So
Mhm.
I think that's interesting, like the little research behind that.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Okay.
I was
Y'all
just like
know we be talking about Eddie P. Eddie P be doing some interesting stuff. For real, for real. Eddie P be every week we got a new little thing we talking about. It's just like
yeah,
this man was interested.
just a
Like to not
little
have lived as long as like what is it, like mid 40s he died? Early
yeah.
40s?
Yeah.
Like, man.
Yep. Yeah, I know. That's in his tragically short life. Yeah, for
Right.
sure. He was
Hey, you shouldn't be behind
40.
the chair, boy. Now he gonna fight, argue with the chair because the chair rolled back. Like, what you gonna do? Bite it? I don't understand. I don't
So
understand.
yeah, he was 40 years old, 40, and so his birthday is in January 19th, 1809 was when he was born. October 7th, 1849 is when he died. So 40 in a few months, so
Wow, crazy.
um so yeah, but yeah, there's and also like just the reasoning of how he got influence to write some of these short stories and poems, like just analysis of it it's really interesting. um and I just thought of when I was doing some research on some account of Stonehenge, the Giants
Mhm,
dance. So
mhm.
I was just looking up some stuff on Stonehenge because I just thought, because
So okay, before you continue, it's hilarious because I know, like, was it last night? Last night or the night before, it was a group of us and we were watching stuff, and like one of the conversations was like Stonehenge. And you know me, y'all know I'm not opposed to aliens being a thing because I am not an arrogant human. Like, I just, to me, to think that we're the only things on life in this world is just arrogant as fuck. It just really,
Mhm,
really is. Just
for sure.
really, really is. And like just the conversations of like what Stonehenge could actually be and how it actually, like, your girl, I was fascinated. I
Yeah,
was fascinated.
there's so many different just theories about how, just this circle of heavy ass stones are in this perfect circular pattern,
Right.
and then some are stacked on top of others like this, like how?
I think it was last night because we were watching this thing about the Amazon too, and how like now they're realizing because of the type of technology and sonar and radars that they have, that like in the actual Amazon there are like communities and like actual like full on a circle full of houses, a circle full of like a circle full of places of where people live that are like connected. And it's like, because it's arrogant of you to think that just because they don't think the way that you think that they can't have any type of organization, that they
Right.
can't have a community. Like, that's really, really arrogant to think that if you don't think in a westernized mindset that you just don't have any order to your life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's
Yeah.
really, really freaking insane to me. Like we were talking about, and I was like, because there was like a lady and she had like a growth under her arm, and we were like,
Mm-hmm.
man, what if that was cancerous? But I was like, can you imagine how fast she would die if they tried to medicate her because she's not had anything processed ever in her life?
Yeah.
Ever?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that would kill her
Yeah. Faster
solely
than just
because her
living.
body isn't used to that. And
Yeah.
so just even the thought of that, like there are people who like live and have kids and raise families that have no idea or any concept of any of the things that we do and are just fucking fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, that's the crazy part, is because we are convinced, we have been brainwashed to think that they are like struggling and they hate their lives, and not like, why?
Yeah, they're fine.
Right.
Yeah.
We need to leave them alone. Start trying to mess with people. Like when people said that there's that island of black people that if you get close, they kill you. I was like, as they should.
As
Leave
they
them
should.
alone.
As
You
they
just want to
should.
know
This
more
is
about
my
them?
island.
Okay. Well, bring your happy ass over there and let them do what they do. I'm not mad at them. Leave them alone.
They said, not this island. This is ours.
Right. Away. Be gone. Hey,
Hi,
Emery. So good to
Emma
see you. So good to
Ray.
see
But
you.
yeah, so just researching just a little bit on Stonehenge, and um the fact that some account of Stonehenge, comma, the Giants dance. So it's actually like he's getting influence from um it's called History of the Kings of Britain by It's either Jeffrey or Joffrey Monmouth. And in this book, it's actually theorized that the stones were brought from Ireland by the wizard Merlin. So Merlin as in, Merlin, Arthur, Pendragon, Arthurian tales, right? Okay. So and the stones were actually healing stones that were not originally from Ireland. They were brought from Africa to Ireland by giants. And so they were there, and the king sent Merlin and Uther Pendragon. Uther Pendragon is Arthur's father, right? To retrieve the stones to create a memorial to honor nobles that were slain by the Saxons. So that's basically what was written in this particular book, and how that kind of influenced Edgar Allan Poe's writing. So he's just kind of going over he must have like read this book, or he must have he must have done something like, and just read it, and he's like, okay, this is my thoughts on it, kind of thing. So I just thought that was interesting. I never really heard of those stones being brought there from Africa by giants, but then also Merlin and Uther Pendragon going and getting these stones and bringing them to create like a memorial. So I just thought that was pretty cool. And I actually kind of want to read that part. I'm not going to read the entire history.
Okay, so not for nothing, why are we also watching videos about giants last night? No, why? Like, this is hilarious. We were watching videos about like giants, because there's again, I don't not believe that giants existed. Like, I don't believe that like we're the tallest that have ever been. Like, I don't. Like, I think to think that we are just the greatest that has ever happened is dumb. It's dumb, because like we can't make the pyramids. Like, we can't create them. We don't know how. We have way more technology supposedly than they did, and we can't make that happen.
Right.
We don't have any structures that have lasted as long as those. Like, so again, I'm just like,
giants or
humanity. There's humanity arrogance, and then there's American arrogance, and that's just way up there. Like, when people are like, you don't like America, just leave. You don't got freedom. What? Do you really think America is the only free country on this? Like, really? You really just feel like it's slaves everywhere but America? Is that what you think? Because like, we was literally the last people to get away with slavery, like to get rid of it. Like, come on now. Like, the only reason we're as great as you think we are is because of slavery. Like, like, slavery literally built this country. Like, they got away with so much because of it. So, like, make it make sense. When the conversation is that America has birth mortality rates of third world countries, it's like, why? Like, what is there to be proud of or about? Because, like, why?
Yep.
So this is funny. This is definitely. It's also interesting to like see the world through the eyes of somebody at that time. Not every place wants democracy. Here's the thing.
I know. I love the
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Democracy sucks because democracy says the majority wins. All you got to do is stay the majority. Have they not been able to do that? Like, legitimately, that's all you have to do is stay the majority in democracy.
Yeah.
And the truth of the matter is, whenever you're going with majority rules, somebody is getting shafted, period.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Like, somebody is. So, like, thinking that, like, this works for everybody and everybody should have what we have. Bro, we can't even manage what we got. Why are we trying to give it to other people? It is a system, for sure. It is definitely a system. Like, to me, okay, we're not going to get down all my conspiracy theorists and rows, but, like, for real, like, there is no part of me and no part of anybody that actually looks into the numbers of this that will be able to factually deny that there is a system that has been put in place to keep the number of Black people in America in a specific number.
Mm-hmm.
There is no reason why, as a population, for over a century, we have not grown more than 12%. And everybody else has, especially with the propaganda that all we do is make babies. Like, it just don't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
If that's all we do, then we should have been grown.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Mark my words, when they decide to give reparations, I guarantee you it'll be the first year we got 30% Black people in America. Once they figure out how they can be, I'm Black too. That's why when everybody was like, and by like 2040, we'll all be biracial. No, the fuck we won't.
Mm-hmm. Like somebody in my like 23andMe, like ancestry.com, like
right
down my line, like yes.
Yeah, like, I'm 6% Nigerian and I'm in America, so that means that I had to have.
Mm-hmm.
Girl, if you don't.
Yeah.
It's definitely a different type of slavery. Right. Well, slavery didn't end. It just got another name.
Got another name. Yeah.
Just got another name. Like, literally, the amendment says, except for. Like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Come on now. Come on.
Yeah.
Y'all know me. Black with a big B all day, every day. Again, I warned you, so you come to my channel. It's just more of the same. More. But I'm excited for a couple of stories this next week. Mm-hmm. The murders in the Rue Morgue, because back to y'all know me. Frasier is my show. It's one of the rare times just not on in the background. But there's an episode of Frasier that talks about the murders in the Rue Morgue. And so I've never read it. And so I kind of want to I'm excited to read it so I can laugh about the episode and the story. And then I'm intrigued by two more. A Descent into the Maelstrom, only because in January, March, part of April, we read the Inheritance trilogy. And in the Inheritance trilogy, they talk about the Maelstrom, and the Maelstrom being what birthed the gods. And so I'm curious about it because I knew that it was a thing because I'd seen the word before, but I wasn't really familiar with the concept. So I'm intrigued to see what he does with this concept in comparison to the queen that is Nora Jemisin. And then lastly, never bet the devil your head, because you know what, low key, I'm hoping that this is like a Job parody. I'm hoping that it's kind of like that, because anybody who's read the Bible knows that Job was the biggest bet between the God and the devil ever. Literally, God, the devil was like, I mean, you say he yours, but I promise you I can do some things and he gonna fold. And God was like, all right, bet. You can do everything but kill him. Everything but kill. You can't kill him. You can't kill him. You can do anything else but kill him. And I promise you he not gonna fold. You don't think he gonna fold? I know he not gonna fold. Okay, let me do it. And I literally that's the book. Literally, that's the book.
That is the book of Job.
That is the book of Job. I was like, yo, Job better than me.
I know. I was like,
Job better than me. I'm going to tell y'all, I would have been a Jonah. I would have been a, what's the one that put the fleece out and was like, okay, God, if it's you, make this animal fur wet. Oh, you did it? Okay, you got to do it another time because I just don't believe it's you. That would have been me. That would have been me. I can admit that. I can admit I'm the, okay, I'll sit in the belly of the whale. You meant I got to go. Okay, you right. You right. I'm going to go. I'm going to just go. I can admit that. I can admit that would have been.
Yeah, I'd rather have literally anything else except for God and the devil betting against me.
Oh no, betting against my life, bruh. No,
I would have anything else.
Man, the way I had
my firstborn son. Yes,
let me about that, and I was like, "Have you not read the book? That's literally the first chapter. Literally, I'm not making this up.
No.
Literally, the first chapter is them going back and forth about how he gonna disown God, and God no, he not, and the devil yes, he is. Literally." I don't know what you thought. It sounded like a bet to me.
It was a bet. It was a bet for sure.
It was a bet. Sorry.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, that's actually I'm really interested in that one as well. Honestly, the only one that in the next section, the only one that I've heard before, I mean, I haven't read any of these short stories
I've not read any of them either.
Is A Descent into the Maelstrom. So that's the only one that I have heard before. So yeah, I'm excited for that one. But then also I'm just excited of like what else are we going to read? Like, what else? Like, I'm at the point in time where it's like we've read so many different things by Edgar Allan Poe from what I originally thought. I'm just like, what else are you going to give me? Like,
yeah, no, I'm interested to see how much more he surprises us for sure.
Yeah, because like we've read quite a bit. I mean, we
right. No, we're getting through this mug. And now, so mind you, we only like about to be in the 400s, right? So we still got like a good,
I know,
500 pages, but still,
we ended this week at 351. So we're still, honestly, we're not even halfway yet into the book, and we've been reading for 2 months. But yeah, so thank you, everybody.
Thank y'all so much for being here and talking with us and chatting. And also, I don't know if you could see, but Queen was watching us on her Twitch stream and put us on her Twitch stream. So thank you so much for sharing us in that way. We appreciate it. You are so awesome. Also, I'm gonna be in the smoke room after this, so just go ahead and meet me in the smoke room if you're still here. Okay.
Meet up. Yes. Thank you so much, everybody who is watching the live now, and then anybody who's catching the replay. Thank you so much. Thank you to my wonderful, wonderful co-host. I couldn't imagine doing this without you. Couldn't imagine. And then also we'll see you next week on Cachet's channel.
Yep. And I will be back streaming starting on Friday, so definitely check me out. I'll be Friday on Bridge channel like normal, and then back to my regular schedule. So see y'all.
Yes, and I will remember to put those links for Cachet's story where she's reading it, and then also the link to buy it on Amazon. It's a part of an anthology, and so I will remember to put those in the description box. So please check it out. It's amazing, phenomenal, and we'll see y'all next week.
Bye.